Oh boy.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPRN discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and place your order.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Into the Night with Sean Kelly. How is everybody today? Everything's going, seems to be great. I'm so excited about tonight because 2 weeks ago we had my friend Phil Siracusa on, and he was talking about his haunted house that he had. And I'm just really looking forward to the second part of the show. The reason being is because he talked about the little girl, Sarah. So it's like, I'm really looking forward to this. I am on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3, New Orleans 107.7, Mississippi. You can catch me on Roku Live. You can also get me on the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society Facebook page, and all other kind of places. Hey, Cindy, it's good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. I just want to just keep saying, I'll say this until Christmas Eve. By Christmas Eve, I will definitely have a Christmas Eve show. So if you're not doing nothing, just stop on by and enjoy. We'll just talk Christmas. We'll just talk about different people's Christmases and stuff like that. And we can go from there. But, the last time we were here with Phil, hey, Sebastian, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for stopping in. Last time we were here with Phil, there was StreamYard was like all crazy and stuff like that. So we only got to talk 40 minutes. But if you do remember, okay, when he talked about it, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. If you remember, he talked about this little spirit named Sarah. Well, tonight, he's going to definitely be talking about Sarah. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest tonight, Philip Siracusa. Hey, good evening. Good evening, Phil.
Hey, thank you for having me on again.
Yes. Really looking forward to hearing the second part. For the people who didn't get a chance to listen to the first show, can you just give like a little 5-minute recap on what was going on?
My name is Philip Siracusa. I'm the author, homeowner, and radio host of the Horsefly Chronicles Network. It all started when we bought this house back in 2010, when apparitions would start to appear out of nowhere. So my encounter with the other side has been intriguing, mysterious, and also at times very scary for myself and my family. I have a legacy of, I guess, an attachment by the name of Sarah. And through the course of the last 7 to 10 years, I've had over 52 paranormal teams come to the Haunted Horsefly Chronicles home in Eastern Pennsylvania to investigate, document, and validate what we are experiencing here. There's still these more questions than answers. So I do these interviews and these podcasts to tell people and show that we're not alone and that ghosts are real and do exist. And I try to debunk every facet of a ghost. But unfortunately, it is what it is. But the good news is that we go on after this journey in the physical shell. And I teach people that you may be encountering something that could be friendly. Not all hauntings are scary. Some can have a mixture. It's like an open doorway to another side. Mm-hmm. So that's a recap really quick. And one of the main focal points of this haunting that is documented throughout books and different series is a girl named Sarah, who plays the innocence of a young girl who showed herself way back in the 90s through an apparition with the white dress, black hair, dark eyes, high cheekbones, and no older than 9 to 11, 13, around that age. But back in the 1800s, she looked like she was dressed. So as we continue the show tonight, I'm going to actually explain where we believe she came from and who we think she is.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. Before we go on into talking about Sarah, I want to say hi to Casey. Hey, Virginia. It is so good to see you here. And everybody else or anybody else that's in the room or listening to the chat. Thank you for coming on. So you were talking about the little girl, Sarah, the way she was dressed and stuff like that. Tell us more about her, please.
So the backstory and history of this young girl is back in the 70s, my father bought a large amount of land upstate New York. Now, back in the 70s, when you bought land, I'm not sure how it is today, but there was a cemetery on the land, a lake, beautiful property, over 300 acres. The cemetery was dated way back to the 1800s. So we loved it up there. It was a beautiful, he had a vacation home built, and it was beautiful getaway up in New Paltz, New York. Mm-hmm. In 1977, we had a family gathering of cousins and relatives and friends, and I was 10 years old at the time. So my older brother took us all for a walk around the lake to the cemetery. And there was about, I would say, 20 of us, just young. And back in the 70s, life was different, more relaxed and peaceful. And, he was just doing a show and tell of the gravestones and reading the names on them and paying our respects. But then he started to joke around. And what we didn't know was that he had a shovel on him that he hid behind a tree in the cemetery. So picture a beautiful summer day, and he starts digging this one person up that had a huge headstone. So he had to be somebody known, dated way back into the day, like, early 1800s. And as he's digging, just joking around, and we're all getting scared, right? The beautiful sky went from gray to lightning to thunder. Well, oh, wow. I can tell you that, we all started running. And I'm only 10 years old, and we're all running back to the cabin. And it was a far run because the cabin was nowhere near that cemetery. And my father kept yelling at my brother, cover that thing back up now, cover it up, So my brother goes back there and covers it up, and all of a sudden it gets beautiful out again. Now, this story went all over Staten Island, New York. This is a known story. We could say, well, there's coincidences, but in paranormal, I don't believe in coincidences.
Right.
It just so happens that years later, in 1993, I was living at my mom's house, and I had made plans with my younger sister, my cousin, and a couple other people to go back to that grave. But you see, I didn't feel like me at the time. Back from the previous show that I've done with you, this is a time when I was doing rituals, and I was being drawn into that world of darkness. And I just felt this evilness inside me, but yet this empowerment. So we made plans to go up to the cabin, and I told my cousin, I want to dig up the grave, but I want to go all the way into that casket. And now I don't know why I'm doing this. So again, this is not good. I don't know what, it's kind of like I'm being channeled to do this crazy thing. So there's about 4 of us, and we walk over to the cemetery. My older brother, who dug up the grave back in the 70s, is sleeping in the cabin because he would forbid it. We get to the grave, and me and my cousin start digging. And again, this is not good, right? We know this.
No,
But-
not at all.
But when this thing is pulling you into a channel, it's kind of like, what do you don't really know what's happening to you. It's kind of like an oppression right before a possession, right before. And we're digging up, and then my sister and her friend on another stone are doing the Ouija board.
Oh, wow.
And I came up with this crazy idea of doing this. Well, what was happening was this. Let me tell you and everyone else that the dead do listen, and the dead can come after you. All of a sudden, these mosquitoes that are weird looking, I've never seen these things before, ever. As we're about 2 feet into the grave, these mosquitoes are coming up that they don't even look right. And they're attacking us and biting us. And on the Ouija board comes a girl named Sarah. And Sarah is threatening all of us. And I didn't care. My cousin didn't care. None of us cared about the threats were coming through because the planquette was moving so fast that they were, at one point, they felt like they weren't even working this thing, the Ouija board. And we were about 4 or 5 feet down now into the grave. And we hit the top of a wooden casket, an old wood. It was wood back then, you know. And I remember prying it open with the shovel, and the smell, once it was about a half-inch open, the smell that came out of there was unbearable. It was unbearable. And I was mad, and I was in this rage of a person, and my cousin was in this rage, and I said, we're opening it up. And I don't know why now. Again, why am I doing this, you know? And now I'm prying it open. We were both in the ground, and we're prying it open, and we pop it open, and the top snaps because it's old wood, you know? You got to figure, back from the 1800s, this thing was sealed. So you can just imagine the aroma and whatever's in it. And what we seen at first was cloth wrapped around the bones, because I guess the cloth from the lining settled in and wrapped around the bones of this guy, you know. And I had it out for this particular guy, and I don't know why. And she's being threatened on the Ouija board, and we're in there now, and I'm saying to myself, now what's the next step here? And this, you know, now that we have the casket open, there's some things I will not say on air, unfortunately, but it turns out I can't say what was removed from that particular casket, and I won't. But then we walk ourselves onto the ground, out of the dirt, and all of a sudden I'm coming back to me now, to Philip. And I'm saying, why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? Now, across the lake in the cabin, my older brother, who dug up the grave in the 70s, is screaming out the window, get out of the cemetery, get out of the cemetery. So I says to my sister, I don't know why I'm about to do this, but give me that board. And I take the Ouija board and I bury it in the casket, and we cover it back up with the sky.
Okay.
Now we're all going back to around the lake, and we're being circled by a horsefly, counterclockwise. This thing is diving at all of us. It's a huge horsefly, circling us. And back then, you know, we're thinking it's a coincidence and all that. And we're trying to like hit it with the shovel. And we go back into the cabin. And I go upstairs into the room to go see my brother, but he's sleeping. He was never up.
He was what? I'm sorry. What happened?
He was never up.
Oh, okay.
I'll stop there to see if you have any questions.
Any questions out there for anybody that wants to ask Phil? No, I'm finding it interesting. I mean, you know, I don't know if I say you're crazy for digging up a grave or kudos for doing it. You know what I mean? But I know the deal with the mosquitoes are interesting. Okay, we talked about lightning bugs. I think I forget when we talked about it, but I know they're not bad like mosquitoes. But all I know is that when we were in Gettysburg filming Raw Fear, it was in April, dude, and it was like it wasn't the season for lightning bugs. You know what I mean? But whenever we were in the peach orchard, we had like 20 of them follow us everywhere. I mean, from the peach orchard to the wheat field to Little Round Top, you know what I mean? So I understand. But I do want to ask you one more question about that. When you were digging this and everything, digging up that grave and everything was happening, was it real quiet? No,
Very quiet.
No birds, no crickets, nothing like that.
No. Mosquitoes, yes.
Okay. But yeah, it looks. Well, let me see. Tony says we got chased out by mosquitoes and grasshoppers. Tony did. You know, somewhere down in Texas, he did. He says we got chased out by mosquitoes and grasshoppers. That's interesting about grasshoppers, right?
Oh yeah.
They're kind of creepy animals. You know what I mean? And I hate it when they jump on your ass. You know, you're walking around, you're sitting, and all of a sudden, boom, you got this cricket or grasshopper just jumping on you. Same thing with praying mantises too, man. They jump on me. I'm like, wow. Now they scare the crap out of me, dude. You know what I mean? What are they? Praying mantises. But please continue, sir. Please continue.
So again, my brother was sleeping, and we just rolled the weekend out. We had fun, and we put it behind us. And I felt like I was me again. But you see, what was happening was I was pulled into this darkness to do this type of thing, you know, that I would say is pretty crazy, sick. And I remember going back to New York, to Staten Island, a couple of days later, and I says, show me what you look like. Are you evil? Are you the devil? Show me what you look like. I just kept saying it, and I wake up around 2, 3 in the morning, looking in the mirror at myself. And I'm just looking at myself as if I was sleepwalking, thinking I'm the evil one.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, I was on a mission to see why I was so drawn to this particular grave. Again, I don't believe in coincidences.
No, me neither.
I believe that for some strange reason, and why would I want to bury a Ouija board with this man? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, Sarah was the person that was threatening us, but Sarah was John's mother.
Oh, wow.
Who we dug up.
Ha ha! Oh my God, dude. No wonder she'd be pissed. You know what I mean? Oh wow. Excuse my language.
Now, as years went on, I've been haunted by Sarah. And she shows herself back in the 1800s with that white dress and that dark hair. But she shows herself very young, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And as she's doing this, she's acting as a protector to build my a part of me that's not afraid of her. My trust. Remember, I said that in the last show, I was in a nightclub. I was pushed in the back. I spilled the drink on this girl. But when I was pushed in the back, Sarah, the young girl's voice says, "That's her, and that's my wife today." Wow, so this is Sarah we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is Julia on the same level as you?
What do you mean level?
I mean, like communicating with the spirits. I mean,
She tries to block it out.
Okay, but at the time that you spilt the drink on her, did you kind of know?
Oh, I didn't know the girl. I just met her.
You just met her? Huh. That's interesting.
But you see, Sarah knew everything already. Sarah was already planning everything.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Well, that's one good thing Sarah did for you. Got a beautiful wife.
Well, yes. What these entities will do is build trust with you before they come after you.
Okay.
Now, through documentation and research, I had people investigate this guy that we dug up. And here's the ironic part of this whole experience. And this is also in that book I was talking about, The Family Cabin on Barnes & Nobles. In the obituaries, here's the way it lays out. In the obituaries, the man's name we dug up was John Rose. His mother, Sarah Rose. His father was also a John. His siblings, Philip Rose.
Oh, wow.
Julia Rose.
Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, wow. Real quick before I'm going to let that sink into everybody out there who's listening to this tonight. That's wow. I do want to make a short commercial. I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring Into the Night. I truly appreciate it. And thank you, Carnation. Go ahead, Phil. That's crazy. Wow. Wow. Huh. I don't know what to say, dude. I don't know what to say.
I didn't know at first either when I'm looking at this obituary back to the 1800s, and my wife's name, the way it's spelled, Julia. Now we're going back how many years, and we're all in the obituaries.
Yeah,
and we're part of this family.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say to myself, as time is going on, and I'm having psychics do readings for me of why I did this, that I'm part of the family. Is it possible that me and my wife are part of the family, and the mother, Sarah, wanted to reunite the children, but in a different way? And I meet Julia in 1999, and I'm pushed in the back, and Sarah said, "That's her." Is it just possible that that was me, and that was my wife, and John was my brother?
That's very possible. Yeah, could be, because think about it. How about people who when they die, they want to be reincarnated again? Do you know what I mean? So maybe all John and Phil and Julia are reincarnated. You know what I mean? Maybe. Wow, this is awesome, crazy, dude.
And this is all documented. We have, like in the book, we have the obituaries, we have the stone, we have everything documented. There was researchers doing the homework for this for a long time, and I've went to different people, the channel, and see what's going on. Why? And it felt like I was brought back to that grave. It all happened for a reason, going back to the 70s when my brother dug it up, my father buying this particular land. We were drawn to this. And ironically, I find that me and my wife, our names are there on the obituary. We're married. And the psychics used to tell me that I would go to, back in 1999, I would do my own visitations with psychics, and they would tell me that the children want to be born. But Julie was just my girlfriend. And is it possible that Sarah knew all this already?
Oh, yeah, no doubt, dude. No doubt. I believe that 100%. 100%. Yeah. That's now when the people were doing the research, did they come across any pictures of these people?
We have the pictures in the book of Philip Rose, Julia Rose, Sarah Rose, John Rose. It's been a legacy of communication, and I think that they want, from what I've been told, is that they wanted the board to open the door and the channel through the other side.
Okay. Now,
what's more interesting, on top of all of this, is I live out in Eastern Pennsylvania, and through the documentation, the Rose family was originally in Clinton, New Jersey, which is 20 minutes from here.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh man, I'd be honest with you, Phil. I'd be going nuts, dude. Honestly, for something like that, I would be. God bless you, dude, for you and Julia for going through all that. You know what I mean? Oh, and also when you got the pictures of Julia, Rose, and Phil, did they similarly look like you guys?
Well, we're going back, way back into their day, how they were dressed. And Philip Rose, he died in his 70s. I mean, he don't look like, obviously, like me now, but, you know, I find a common ground with this man, yes. Mm-hmm. And I find a common ground with that whole family. And like I said, I've been to different people to do readings for me and see why I'm connected to that grave so much to do such crazy things, only to find my own name there and my wife's name. And Sarah introduced us, if you really want to think about it, and it's crazy as it sounds. If it wasn't for Sarah, I would have not met my wife.
No, it's not crazy at all. Not at all, dude. I believe it. I really do believe it. And I've been in the business for a very long time. And I know how spirits can manipulate or try to push you to go to a certain direction. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm here, Sean, and over there's a person that you want to talk to. And over there, it's just like I go talk to the women, and it's like we knew each other. You know what I mean, dude? It was like I knew her, and I never met her before. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Sarah, you know, what's interesting is that she acts as a protector because she would tell me things before they would happen, but yet she would be a threatener to people to come and investigate the home that we live in. And you know, like I said, we've had so many paranormal teams here, and we even had NESPR here who, you know, said, well, Sarah's the devil. Sarah's not Sarah.
Right.
Or is something taking her over in the basement of this home? And it's kind of like the movie The Conjuring, mm-hmm. where it wasn't up until Ed and Lorraine Warren in the movie were on the train only to realize that the recording was the man needed help, but the demon was masking that. And they had to turn around and realize that this was a setup and the demon was really covering that man's voice. And I kind of look at Sarah And when they identify Sarah as an evil entity, is she the protector, but she's being masked by another presence in the home?
And you never got an answer on that?
There really is no answer. It goes up to, after having 52 teams here, it goes up to what you believe after all. I mean, it's what you believe.
Now with Sarah, right? I can see how, if she is Sarah, I'm just saying, I believe it is Sarah, but I can understand that she was a very protective woman, and the reason why you had all those teams in there investigating, I guess she did not want them to pry into her family's life. Do you know what I mean?
We had the teams investigate here because we weren't sure some of the
Right,
things that would happen here were malevolent.
right.
But I
But
don't think it was her, because through some of the recordings that we did get from paranormal teams, there's a young girl who identifies herself as Sarah, but she's also says at times she has to go because the bad man is coming. The bad man is coming.
mm,
Now, I don't know who this bad man is. I mean, again, it's up to theories, right? If you follow religion, it's up to a theory of these are evil entities, or it's a man that was in the physical realm that threatened Sarah back in her day. I don't have any answers for that. I don't think anyone does, because there is no expert. But what I do know is this. What I do know is that there are no coincidences, and we were drawn to the grave for a reason. There's an open channel with the Rose family, my wife and I, and how we met, and why the grave was dug up. And to this day, there is that open channel.
okay. Now, your cousins that were there helping you dig the grave, did anything ever happen to them? If you can't say anything, that's okay, dude.
Well, no, I'm trying to think how I would put that. Yeah, the one that was in the grave with me took his life.
Oh, okay. My condolences.
Um, I don't have all these answers,
Hmm.
of, again, there's no coincidences, but I don't know why, that could be a number of reasons, or it could be the threats from the grave. I honestly don't know
Okay.
why, but mysterious things have happened, yes.
Okay. Wow, this is a crazy story, dude. And you don't know how much I appreciate you sharing this with my people out here listening to the show and the people in the chat rooms. Um, so to your house now. Do you think, what in your heart, in your heart, who do you think are the evil entities? Who do you think in your heart, like who's the first thing that comes into your mind that, you know what I mean, without no doubt, is actually doing all the negativity in your house?
I don't know. I truthfully don't know.
Okay.
There's one male presence that all the psychics pick up, the investigators, and he calls himself Chief. He seems to be like a commander to all the minions, or the lower spirits. I feel like, and he's the one who controls everything in the home. And I kind of, if I had to really like put my gun into it, I think this was a Native American man who was part of, this might have been his land, between the Forks and Delaware River, and this land was claimed by him. But, it always leaves questions, well, how does my haunting of Sarah work its way into this? Back in 2009, before we moved into the home, life was perfect. As I said on the last show, life was perfect.
Mhm.
It's this home that is a magnifier to the spirits.
Are there
And
were there any Indian burial grounds around your area?
yes,
Ah, okay, okay. So you know automatically right there, the energy um, that the spirits feed off of, that just takes it up to 10
yes.
times more. You know what I mean?
And the
You know?
land between here and the river is on a ley line.
Oh my God, dude. You're just like the perfect storm. You know what I mean? Everything just. Please tell me you don't have power lines that are running across your house, is there?
No, over here it's underground.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's a question for that, Phil. You know how you say when houses are like, have them power lines over the house? Do you think if they're underground, do you think that could have some effect on some of the energies that surround that the spirits can feed off of?
Most definitely.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Most definitely. I believe that in this home, there's different things. And again, you rack your brain and say, I don't know. You shrug after a while and say, I don't know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
But a lot of it, look, if you came here, right, and you came in my basement and you came just to investigate, but nothing more, no provoking, and maybe you see a couple shadows and hear a couple whispers.
Hmm.
And here's what's interesting about this whole thing. You come here provoking. No such thing. Come on, spirits, come out.
Right.
And you have your cameras and your recorders facing the back wall of this basement.
Hmm.
You're going to see these misty, snaky things going up and down. It's weird. It's really weird. You think it's the bulb starting to flicker? It's like these weird, snaky things that like they shift in their shapes. Then
Right.
the battery's going to go dead in your equipment, and then you're going to feel about 5 minutes later, you're going to feel tired and drained, and then your equilibrium bounce goes off. And these are all the things that start to happen. It's
Hmm.
kind of like a trigger device for the unknown. I speak about this because we talk about the shadow people and these shadow figures. Are they malevolent? Are they good? Are they just spirits? I know that they're very intelligent. I know that they're based upon what we do in reaction to them. And
Hmm.
I also know that we can provoke them and then they can come back and do things. And I've seen this happen. Again, there's no expert. I don't have all these answers. There's a lot of things I just don't understand.
Right.
And a lot of people are having so many teams here now from around the world. A lot of these people just leave here clueless and like, we don't understand it. And if they provoke, they're attacked. If they don't provoke, then nothing happens.
That that. Well, you know what? It personally, I think it's the team that goes in there, how they, like you just said, how they react. Um, I've been on many investigations to where we didn't get crap all night long. You know what I mean? But there were some investigations that we did. But Cason, hey Cason, good to see you. Cason or Cason. He would like to know: were there any Indian battles in your area?
Yes, the Iroquois Indians lost the battle here between Forks and Delaware River in this section of eastern Pennsylvania. So there was a lot of bloodshed, yes.
Well, from what I understand, weren't the Iroquois kind of like a peaceful Indian?
Yeah, they lost the treaty.
Okay, and then they
Now, when
got
you go
mad.
to town hall over here, you see the chief. There's a picture of the chief. There's a picture of some of the young ones. This was, Sullivan Trail. Sullivan's is the name after the chief. A
Okay.
lot of the streets around here are named after those Indians.
Hmm. Oh, okay. I just want to give a shout out to Kelly. Thank you for coming in, Kelly. Good to see you. Um, no break. Oh, I got a message from somebody that's listening, and they're saying, "Are you going to go take a break?" I said, "No, not tonight." this is this is great. To be honest with you, Phil, I am like totally lost for words when I'm hearing this story. It is so fascinating, but I feel like it's not scary. Do you know what I mean? It's not, what you would see on a movie or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. This is not a poltergeist.
Hmm.
It's not one of those movies where things are going to fly and the pitches and the walls bleed. That doesn't happen. No. But
No.
but if you were to stay in the basement alone at night and you thought nothing would happen. If you think and talk or try to even think about using a Ouija board down this basement or things to that nature, all hell breaks loose.
Hmm.
And I've seen people, like, I said in the last show, I've seen people leave here and get into car accidents. I've seen really bad things happen, and there are no coincidences in that. You have to be careful and delicate with the words that you use. This is one of those homes where I feel like it has an ego. The main spirit here has an ego, and it's like, well, if you don't believe me, let me show you what I could do to you.
Okay, I can understand that. Yes, absolutely. Have you made peace with the spirit? Did you sit
We
down and
tried. We
make
tried.
make a deal with them?
Yeah, we tried making an offering. It's not so much that myself and my family are attacked anymore in a way of um, oppression. Back years ago, for example, my youngest son was slapped in his face in his own bedroom, but that he didn't want to sleep in the room anymore. He was slapped. He was only like 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
Um, many of people have been scratched, and you see the scratches actually happening.
Oh wow.
You actually see the scratches, and they're deep in the basement. But a lot of that subsided. A lot of that stuff, I think it became to a common agreement somehow that we're not here to provoke you, or I'm not here to try to remove you anymore, because I already know what happened when we did that, and it was ugly. We had a ministry at the home, and that turned ugly. Ugly. Oh, wow.
Would you like to share about that?
It was the summer of 2015, a ministry of 7 people. The ministry was divided into Wiccan, shaman, reverend, high priestess. It was a form of different types of religions, personalities, and beliefs. And they did everything. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. They did everything from the salt. I don't know about this stuff. So this is what their practice was. And actually, Bill Freeman, but he's no longer alive. He was here too. Bill Freeman. They've done the salts and the prayers and the shaman speaking prayers and all these different types of things in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt myself get mad. So they were holding me down. And they were holding me down, and they're throwing holy water at me and all this stuff, and they're reading all these different. And I felt this thing from inside of me, inside of my gut, try to raise up, like I was having this unbearable strength come. And the lights were flickering, and I felt rage, evil. I didn't feel like me. I felt like the person that was digging up that grave.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that person came back. And then all of a sudden, the ministries, they're fighting with each other, they're arguing, and it turned out to be so ugly. And then one of them had a new car, they're pulling away, they get stuck up the block, the car just dies. New car. This is a brand new car. The other one, about a mile away, hits a deer. 2 months later, that entire ministry broke apart.
Wow.
And to the fashion of the whole ministry fell apart. Look, I could debunk as much as I could debunk, and I could say that things happen. But I will say that if you go after evil and you know something has an evil presence or a home or a person's attachment, and you think when you walk away it's over, I promise you,
It isn't.
you are so wrong. The devil does not wear a watch. We do. He'll get you at any time, anywhere, and no matter what age you are. And once you've put yourself into that realm of, I'm going to remove you from a certain location, you better make sure you know what you're doing, right? And these guys really did know what they were doing. I believe they did know it. They had it down pat. I was impressed when I first seen them come in. I mean, they went to every glass fixture in a home and did the sign of the cross with the holy water, and they made the markings on every piece of crystal, every mirror, every reflection that would come in through the sunlight with the crosses. And this thing knew, and this thing retaliated. Now, here's what happened, and that this to this day still scares me. When the ministry left, that was a Saturday. Sunday came around. The home was peaceful. Peaceful. But I wasn't scared about that. My kids are playing in the living room. This is 2015. My wife and I have tears in our eyes. It's over. We won the battle.
Right.
Perfect Sunday. Monday comes around. I had to go into the basement because I have an office in the basement. And I go down the basement. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and a toy goes off on the ground by itself. So I thought maybe I kicked it, right? And I turn around and I look at the toy, and it's going on and off again by itself. And at the same exact time, my wife and children are screaming on the third floor that the lights are flickering. And at the same exact time, the toy's now going on and off again. I have this documented, by the way. I put it on YouTube because I got the cell phone camera, and it was telling us, you lost. You lost.
But you know as well as I do, when investigating, to me, holy water, oil, salt, whatever, it's just a Band-Aid. You know what I mean? It might give you a day, maybe 2 days of peace. But what happens, Phil, is that they just come back with a vengeance because they knew what they were doing. All that smudging, all that stuff going on that you do to protect your house, it like I said, is a Band-Aid. And it wears off, whatever they do. I mean, the ministry that came in, all the water and stuff like that. But once that energy from the sage and the holy water and the oils and the salt go away, they're coming back. They're coming back for vengeance, and I've seen it happen to many people, where they put the salt around their house and on their windowsills and smudge. Personally, me, I tell people not to smudge, not to put holy water on there, anything like that. It's like they're just going to come back. You know what I mean? They're going to come back. So I can understand why that spirit in your house, when all that energy left, the protection left, I can understand why that spirit was going crazy. You know what I mean? Going nuts on it. But all I know is that I'm just happy that you're safe and Jolie is safe and your kids are safe. All right. Everybody out there, honest to God, do not mess with the paranormal or something that you do not understand, because if you listen to Phil's story tonight and the first time he was back on and the last show, stuff happens like that. And you really, really seriously need to know what the hell's going on. Don't listen to the movies. Don't listen to the TV shows. Okay? Do your own research. Find out what could work for you, or even if you have to call in somebody to do an exorcism on your house, do it, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But please don't ever go and do it yourself and by yourself, because you will get burned. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had to say that, Phil.
Of course, I definitely agree with you on that. And we've had seasoned paranormal investigators here. Some of the first people were like the Eastern Paranormal Society, Melissa Leeper, Jeff Leeper, Scott Gerhardt, Sean Austin, Ralph Sarchi. There's been so many different people. And then I would talk once a week with Bill Bean, and getting different perspectives on this case and what we're dealing with. And then I spoke to Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who felt like, this is years ago, she felt like we were dealing with the jinn. And then
Right.
back in 2014, she contacted Lorraine Warren, which you heard about this case. Lorraine says, don't get involved with that case, it's bad. There's something really bad with that house. But Lorraine was never here. And Rosemary made plans, but it never fell through. It knows, it knows how to stop you.
Right.
Now, when Ralph Sarchi came here from the TV show The Demon Files, first I was intrigued by his movie that came out. The movie that was based on his story was, I thought, excellent. And he came here, and he was trained by the Warrens.
Right.
Well, what happened was, I'm sorry?
What?
What happened was, I was being taken over by that spirit. And the spirit, I was going into this shaking. There was like 6 of us in the basement, and he was asking me to tell what was going on here, And in my mind, the spirit's telling me there's a cross in his bag. There's a cross in his bag. Get it out of the house. Well, I didn't see him put a cross in his bag when he entered the home.
Mm-hmm.
But when I told him that, there was a cross in his bag. There was a very big cross in his bag. And the spirit wanted it out of here.
Wow.
These things, and I remember him telling me that he couldn't even get here because his GPS kept messing up. They will stop you, they will cause problems for you, and they will make sure that they're not removed. And that's a fact. That is a fact.
Wow.
Through my experience, I have not met anyone with a magic wand to say spirits be gone and it's over, because that's all hocus pocus. It doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to live at bay until you actually move, because there's only so many things you could do as a person, or teams can do. We've had priests here from the Catholic Church. Now, if you ask me what happened with the priest, absolutely nothing. Not a blink of a bulb, not a toy going off. But ask me what happened 3 hours later, the shadows will come back, the bulbs would blink, and to feel the negative presence in the home, where the family would start fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, well, if you want to play that game, we're not here when they're here, but we're here when they're not here. Now let's go.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. Hey, listen, we got a couple more minutes, Phil. Is there any last words you want to say to all the people who are listening to the show worldwide and in the chat room?
If you get into paranormal and investigating, be careful. It's good to learn how to do it, but be careful and never, ever provoke, because I can promise you that evil spirits, however we label them, do exist and they can retaliate.
Mm-hmm.
And having said that, always go for the better of things and investigating, not the darker end of things. Even though we're interested and intrigued by it, like myself, I was, you never know what door you're going to open that you can't shut.
Right. Now, real quick, good night, Virginia. Cindy has a question for you. Is Bill Bean still in touch with you guys?
I haven't spoke to Bill Bean in about a year or two. He did give me his advice, and what this was crazy. That one thing that did happen, he wasn't at the home, but he would speak to me on the phone and say prayers. Back in 2014, well, when he said prayers, when I was first introduced to him, all these papers in my office went up in the air, started flying around.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And I told him, and he says to me, "This thing is trying to stop us."
Wow, that's craziness. How can people get a hold of you, Phil?
Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. You can find some of the evidence from the teams if you type in the Horsefly Chronicles on YouTube or Google. Like Brian Cano was here, who was part of Johnny Zaffis. John wasn't here, but Brian was here. Very scientific, and he felt like the house is on a big portal.
Mm-hmm.
We had National Ghost Hunting Day here, and if you want to know what happened, it's a whole article written pages long of what happened at this house of 2017 National Ghost Hunting Day with Brian Cano. It was crazy.
Huh. Wow.
There's a whole article on that. So be careful what you tamper with, The family cabin, the life of Philip Syracuse is on Barnes & Nobles. It has the obituaries of everything, the Rose family, my name, my wife's name. It has the pictures of all these people. It has the stones. It has the homes these people used to live in. It has every single thing that was documented by investigators.
Wow. Hey, listen, Phil, thank you for being on tonight. This was a fast hour. Maybe down the road we can have you back on. I'd love to have you back on and just shoot the crap. You know what I mean? Just talk. Don't have to be about your house or anything like that, but just sit and have a conversation. Okay. Thank you again for being on. Everybody, remember, I have a show on Sunday nights from 8 to 9 on UPRN Talk Radio. And also, of course, you all know about Tuesdays. Children, if you can, please, please, please go to your parents and tell them that you love them. And parents, please tell your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you don't have no parents or have no children, find somebody to say, I love you. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. So I want to thank everybody who watched the show. Thank you for all the chat in the chat room. And I will definitely see you next Sunday night. Good night, everybody.